You are unique, active, determined, resilient. You are not your diagnosis, and you are not alone. This is Young Onset Parkinson's Network. Living well starts here.
Things I wish I knew.
Yeah.
There's so many
Can we do things I wish I didn't know?
things I wish I didn't know.
We could.
That's true too.
I would go for that.
Some of the stuff that I know now, I wish I didn't know, so that I could just get through it.
So who's been diagnosed the longest? Chris has, right?
Probably Chris, right? How long were you on? 8 years?
2000. Yeah. Well, this would be 9.
Wow, this is 9 years.
How about you, Mel?
This will be my 5th year.
And I got my big 1, 2, my solid 2 years. So Chris, share with us.
It's not a competition now.
As your elder statesman of what you wish you knew when you were diagnosed.
April.
We bow to your
before beauty.
That's what I told Mel earlier. I was like, I have to go make myself, pretty.
Gotta get his lipstick on. He's a little chappy.
Was it? I thought it was. I'm thinking 9 years.
It's got to be. I know.
15, I think, is when.
So you're going into 9. This is year 9, right? Feels like 90, right?
And it's been such a blur.
It all went so fast.
He rolls his eyes sarcastically.
That's the thing about Parkinson's is like, time either goes so fast or it drags. You're like, all right, I have 2 hours to my next dose. If I take pills now, I'll be dyskinetic. So come on, fast time. And then it's the slowest time that time has ever created. And you're like in a warp, just sitting there with the entire cast of the Rocky Horror Picture Show waiting for the time to move.
And not to mention the anxiety that comes along with that.
Oh, yeah.
Because and that was one of the things we talked about during the programming session yesterday. Of course, warped sense of humor, me kind of thing. Asked the doctor, I said, so do you think that I have a general anxiety disorder that presents itself as Parkinson's?
That'd be nice.
And she was like, no. She's like, we're gonna adjust these settings. Try the new software that they had, and
they have like a brain sense type thing, right?
The Boston. It's not so much as a brain sensing kind of thing like the Medtronic bit is. It's more of, and I hate to simplify it like this, but it's almost like a point and click. So they've got the 3D imaging of your brain and the part that you want to stimulate. So you select that area and then it turns, and then it spits out a set of settings to
yeah.
And then just click apply. And she's going through this, the rep and the doctor are both there. And she's like, and they're taking pictures with their cell phones and I guess for documentation to see stuff. She's like, I would have never considered these because it's
wow. It's actually amazing.
Right.
That's actually very amazing.
And so she didn't do anything for the right side. The left side is actually, I think when I went in, the left side was set at amplitude 2.4.
That's where I am, or I was.
When she changed it over, it's a 1.7. But it's got all the the multi-directional things in it though, as to where it's focusing or not really focusing, I guess, spreading around the stimulation. So
yeah, well, my left side was backwards from my right side. When they tried the same stimulation on both sides, and my right side, I felt it opening up. When she did it on my left side, I felt myself actually locking up more. So it's one of those, like I was like, ooh, let's do this. I already have one of these. I already have one.
Right? Can we skip
another souvenir from this? Thank you very much. With the
crab claw accessory.
Not interested. I don't need an extra set of Mickey Mouse ears. Thank you very much. Not interested.
Would you say that anxiety was one of your presenting symptoms? And
not initially, but I have found since that, it's listed as a side effect of DBS surgery itself.
Oh, okay.
And it's one of those, like, if you have anxiety prior, which, look, we all have it. And it might take Well, as it was, because mine's more of it's not so much like the panic attack bit, but it's that little constant voice, the what ifs, the overthinking, all of that stuff. And it's like, if you don't have it before, or no, if you do have it before,
Prone to it.
right. And but if not after it, I guess it's not really that it boosts it, but it kind of makes it more prevalent, I think, at least for me, it has.
Well, they do say that DBS surgery stimulates the limbic system in your brain because it's actually right there underneath, like, what is that, the meninges, or like once they get through the scalp, that can stimulate the limbic. Hello, mouth. Welcome to words. That can stimulate the limbic system in your brain, which causes a fight or flight response. And sometimes that stays and sometimes it goes. I mean, fortunately for me, I got rid of that, but oh my gosh, that there's something that I wish that I had known about. Yes, was that was a possibility, because I woke the first night in the hospital and I was like, I have to get up. I have to move. I have to move out of this bed. I have to get out of this bed. I have to get out of this bed. I have to move. And I couldn't, and I'm like, why am I panicking? Like, I wasn't in any pain. I didn't need to use the bathroom. I mean, granted, I had that hospital experience. Hello. But so I thought the anxiety was from that. But then I got home and it was the same thing. I have to get up. I have to move. I have to get out of this bed. I can't lay here. I have to get up. I have to get up. And I was having like this existential crisis, which apparently you can take Tylenol for, off topic. Um, Tylenol is good for existential crisis, ladies and gentlemen. A thing I wish I knew. But I didn't know anything about that. And I contacted my doctor after I got out of the hospital, and he was like, yeah, that's actually a common thing. But I found out about the limbic system, all that on my own, because I'm a nerd and I wanted to know why my brain was not braining the way that I wanted it to brain.
I had one of those, like you were saying, one of those nights that nothing was really wrong. I was just lying there, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, I have to get this out of my body. I have,
I had one of those too. Yeah. Get it out. Get it out. Like Marge Simpson on the airplane. Let me out, let me out, let me out, let me out. When I had my device implanted, when I came home, I didn't think it would feel as yucky as it did. And I swore that it was like wearing a locket, that every time I leaned down and leaned back, I could feel it knocking against my rib cage. And I couldn't stand the sensation. So I started walking around like the creeper walk in The Sims. I was walking around the house like this. And every time I bent down, I would hold my chest. I still do it because I'm convinced that I can feel it. But it was so disconcerting that I wish someone had warned me about that and said, you might feel it. It's normal if you feel it moving around in there. Like,
yeah,
I didn't think it was going to come out or anything. The feeling was so uncommon, and to me, it was just I did not like the way that it felt. So it triggered all my sensory nonsense. And
if you mention to the doctor, like they're like, they're like, don't touch it. I'm like, hello. It's like, it's here. I was like, it's not like I'm running around daily. Like, oh, look at my.
It hurts when I touch it. Well, then don't touch it.
Exactly. Yeah,
because when your kid, it hurts when I do this. Don't do that.
And not only that, but like the wiring can you see them sometimes, feel it. Yeah, it's
for those that are listening and can't see us. They're both pointing to the wires that connect to their battery packs implanted in their chests.
You can see it because it's right. Goes over my clavicle.
Yeah.
And
it runs through your neck.
Yeah. Well, no, it comes out and it goes out and it comes down like this. It comes down to the breastbone. So it's a bit disconcerting. And I'm a child. I'm topped off at a whopping 117 pounds now. So, I'm almost welterweight. So I'm getting my fighting stance back.
I think if there was anything I wish I'd known, there's so many, but definitely the mood aspect of it, not just from the disease itself, which is a big part of it, but also from the medication. I remember early on somebody mentioning to me the importance of the serotonin system as well as the dopamine system.
Yeah.
And that was like, I remember thinking that I've never heard about that. That doesn't even make sense. All we hear about is dopamine. And then like we're all nerds, I feel like. And so you go down that rabbit hole and of catecholamines and serotonin and norepinephrine and everything else that's involved. And you're like, I've said that before. This is a mood disorder. Why it's not in the DSM-4, I will never understand.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
I mean, back to like what you were saying about the parasympathetic and the fight and flight. I mean, I just feel like I have this low level anxiety. I don't really have panic attacks or anything. I do feel that sometimes now in planes, like especially if I'm flying overseas, just the I had never in my life thought about being stuck in a moving metal bird.
Yes, yes, and then now you have nowhere to go. Now you have nowhere to go. You're like,
As
"Oh."
much as I do on any plane right now. So I usually take a muscle relaxer actually, not because it really helps my dystonia or my muscles, but because it just kinda knocks me
Yes.
Yeah.
And just that
which
I usually have a beer when I fly. I don't normally drink, but I like to have a beer, a glass of wine, or, like a cocktail or something because I can't.
well, I travel with 2 children, and actually the stewardess is I'm sorry, the online, service industry specialists, they tend to be very generous with the liquor for those of us sandwiched
Oh, yeah.
between
Have
They
you
children.
see parents
I
and they're like, "You're
appreciate
getting a double. You're getting a double. Ooh, 2 kids. Ooh, you get a big one."
it.
They want all the moms and dads to be happy when they get off the
But I
plane.
have a question because this is something that I haven't really ever talked about. But right after I got diagnosed, I was working in a clinic and I had just learned about the impulse control disorder stuff. And so I was talking to a physician that I worked with. And I asked her, I said, when you put patients on the Parkinson's meds, do you have discussions with them about the possible medication side effects? And she said, no, we don't. And I'll tell you why. She said, because it makes you more likely to get them because people with
Placebo.
Parkinson's are so influenced by the power of suggestion and
Yeah.
placebo effect
Yeah, placebo
that
effect.
it makes it more likely that that you'll get it if we mention it. And that just infuriated me to no end because my background as a risk manager was always about informed consent. How can you make informed consent if you don't know the risks and benefits? So I feel like it's kind of an interesting topic because now I see both sides of it, you know?
Yeah.
But I don't really know. I think it probably depends on the person and how would anybody ever flesh that out?
I would think that that would have to be on a case by case basis. I feel like that might be something better served if they asked the patient, "Are you having any issues with impulse control?" In a completely unrelated thing before they even give you a diagnosis. Then it's because then therein it has no context.
Yeah,
That's all.
or do you have a history of depression? Are you an overthinker? Like, that there should be almost some kind of screening tool. Are you someone that doom scrolls a lot? Do you fall down rabbit
well, I
holes?
mean, you have to
If
do a
so,
psyche
this
valve
might
for
not be for you.
Do you have
like,
long meandering conversations with people on the internet? No.
I mean, you have the psyche valve before DBS. I mean, that's part of the
Yeah.
process. Granted, it's more for,
Cognitive issues, cognitive
cognitive
decline. Yeah.
issues and dementia and
Yeah.
whatnot.
DBS can speed up the rapidity of dementia and stuff
But
like
yeah,
that.
I mean, I agree. That should definitely. I think it's. I mean, I'm not saying you do the full on psyche valve post diagnosis, but like you
I
said,
think they should do it at the beginning.
yeah,
I've
you
been
should
like
at
first
least.
visit or second visit, like come back to we're gonna do a psyche eval so that we have a baseline because we have no baseline. There's
Okay.
no baseline. My psyche eval was good. It was decent. It wasn't like I still have the ADHD brain. I have the everybody has cognition issues. We're getting older and unfortunately that's just the way it goes. Everybody has cognitive decline. Like to a degree it's normal. Mine wasn't to any degree where it was considered alarming at all. But I do know that there are changes because I have this executive dysfunction. I can't make easy decisions, and I mean simple things like I can't think out what to wear. Like I'm like, oh God, there are 6 pairs of shoes and 4 match, and I don't know. No, 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 and I'll stand there for like half an hour. So that's one of the things that I feel like if we had a baseline, you could at least, going into it, okay, this is where we started, so this is where you're at right now. Not saying do it. I have to do my test all over again in a year after my DBS. So next January, I'll be going back in and I'll take the evaluation again to see if there's anything that's changed since DBS, which I think is really cool. I want to know because I like tests like that.
Oh yeah. Well, I
I'm a
mean,
nerd. Like I find them challenging. I was trying to like get like the best score and everything. The guys, so it's not really a high score, and I'm like, but do I have the high score though? That's what I want to know.
I
Yeah.
asked for a referral to a psychiatrist after I think my third visit to the MDS. It was my 1 year anniversary. visit. And so he sent me to one, and he did a full psych evaluation, and it was kind of funny because it was like you do the PDS whatever, and the anxiety screening and the depression screening, and he was like, "So you have scored the highest on all of these?" And I was like,
No.
"Yes, I'm the most mentally unstable
Right?
person. All of the above."
Like, here's your sign.
But it was surprising to me because honestly, I do feel like, you just kind of get used to this, like I said, that kind of low level anxiety, low level depression,
He's just
you
sitting in
know,
the dark, just
and
sitting there.
and then you're like, "Oh, wow, this is maybe a bigger something a bit of concerning." But I mean, I always go back to what that's that point where it's like, I feel like the answers are less and less for me in the doctor's office than in the community. I have gotten to that point, and this is what my MDS has said to me, like, where the next step for me is DBS, and we're all kind of on that path. And so when you're in this gray area where your symptoms aren't still manageable to a certain point, that you don't feel like you need DBS, although you still have I'll have those nights sometimes where I'm like, "Dear God, please give me a new brain." It's not consistent, and the good still outweighs the bad, and so when you get to that point, then I always go back to community, and that's why I'm like, that's how I got to know, YOPN and all you wonderful people, because at least I know it's not just me. And there's so much reassurance in that, even though it doesn't really change anything. It's very much like, "Oh, okay, so we're all in this, like, sinking
We're all
ship."
here,
You're a hot mess. Me too, me too, me too.
As long as it's not just me. Yay.
Like,
And
everybody raised their hand.
Yeah. Welcome to the dumpster fire that is.
Yes. Yes, I actually just found a crochet pattern for a dumpster fire, so everybody's getting a dumpster fire for Christmas. It takes me that long to get them done, if I can focus for that long.
Yeah.
Who knows?
And I mean, I'm in a lot of support groups, especially online and in person, and, I'm co-running a support group now in my town.
Well,
And, that was kind of another thing, like, if you had told me that being in a room full of, like, old people would be so reassuring and supportive to me, it's so bizarre, but I'm like, "Oh my god, Agnes, girl, how you
all of a sudden
doing?
your life
How are
changes.
your grandbabies?" Like, you know, and you feel like a rock star. You feel like you're doing so well because, like, and it makes you also realize how much more life you have ahead of you.
Yeah, because where else can you go when you're 50 and people are like, "Oh, well, you're too young," and you're just
Yeah, exactly. I'm like,
that's right.
"Oh my gosh, I'm just a baby
Yeah,
with my young onset,"
this
emphasis
old
on
chick
the
over here.
young.
So, like, I'm trucking through Dave and Buster's and all the people are moving out of my way, because I think I'm gonna fall down, but I roll up to a in-person support group and they're like, "Oh, look at her with that strut," all that terrible gait.
She doesn't even have a disabled license plate. Like, "Girl,
Yeah,
you're a
and
rock."
hey, look at you. Both hands are out today. Oh my gosh. The things. Like, we ask for so little sometimes of the day and consistently aims goals low and fails to achieve them. That's Parkinson's
I'm
for you.
all about a lowered bar. My
Mhm.
bar is
It's like real low.
floor.
Like that one chick that can like do the actual limbo. We all needs to be that low. The rest of us be jumping over it. It's that seems to be the consensus though, like based on like, you know, our online surveys and stuff like that. That's one of the things that people want to know about most is anxiety. We feel like that's important for people to know that anxiety is a thing that can come with Parkinson's. So if you're feeling more anxious, it may or may not be all in your head. It's a manifestation of neurochemicals and brain changes and everything else. And that you're
And
not the only one that's going through it. Like,
and this that but that's a problem that I've always had on the long actings, which is why I've just never been able to stay on the long-acting. I mean, I get, like, really good symptom control on the long-acting dopamine medications,
Yeah.
but like, what you were describing, that akinesia,
Yes.
akathisia, that feeling of just,
Yes.
like, I feel like a caged lion, you
Yes.
know? I just wanna pace, I can't stay seated, and when I can get out and I can walk and stuff, like, that's great, but then it became very compulsive. I had to be walking. I would literally be like, "Okay, the dinner's on the stove. Imma go walk a mile real fast. I'll be right back."
Kinetic, you're kinetic. You feel kinetic, like, they say dyskinesia, like, it's almost like the opposite of it, like, you need to use that kinetic energy, it just feels like everything is undulating
And as you know, that can lead to weight loss. That was contributing to a lot of my massive weight loss because you're just in constant movement, and it's, again, one of those symptoms that nobody can see.
it's hard to describe too.
And it sounds crazy. It really depends on the doctor you're explaining it to because for sure,
Yeah.
Oh,
if
yeah.
I described that to my primary care, they would put me on mood stabilizers and stuff like that or benzos or something to and really it's just a function of dopamine. And that's why I always end up
Mhm.
going back to immediate release because I feel like I have a little bit more control over
Same.
that,
Yeah.
you know? And then I do take these periods of time when because that's another thing is, like, stress, the impact of stress of any kind
Yeah.
worsening your symptoms and making your medication less effective. When I'm on these I never realized until really this week how much just the stress of the expectation of taking my kids different places or having to be someplace at a specific time, that anxiety if I have a doctor's appointment at 2, I will literally clear my whole day.
Yes. Yeah, and you wait all day for it, and you think about it all day long,
And
and
just be anxious about it starting the day before
yeah,
just
your
to,
chest
like,
starts to
get
get tight, and your breathing kinda gets smaller, and you're like, "Hmm."
so when I'm having these times where I don't have to take anybody anyplace,
Yeah.
my symptoms just
Oh,
get so much lesser, and I noticed that when I left my job. I mean, I know everybody can't leave their job, but just that stress reduction itself, I had whole clusters of symptoms that disappeared. I wish I could master that. I have this fantasy of being like a Buddhist monk, that's just like able to harness all this, but I'm not. I'm just a mentally unstable middle-aged housewife, but but I aspire to that level of mental control.
Permanently unstable with this,
yeah.
like,
It
child rearing and Parkinson's and not child rearing and trying to be people and Parkinson's. It's so hard to people, like, you just can't you
Yeah,
can't people, and, like, I'm lucky because well, I mean, in a way, I always said that my kids have, like, really bad social anxiety, my youngest too, and when they were younger, I kind of lamented that fact 'cause I wanted to, like, you know, do things with other moms when I was still living in New York, and I had my big friend group, and I wanted to do things, we couldn't do the things because, I mean, we were like the people who would shut the party down. My kid was like that kid that you were like, "Why are they here? Like, just go home." Like, and it really it was that bad. And once I accepted the fact that, like, it just wasn't gonna work for us, I was like, "Okay, well, this sucks, but this is what we have to do." But in essence, the universe gave me the kids that, like, the universe always brings you people. They brought me the people that I needed because they aren't the way that I needed them to be then, but now they're like, "Do we have to go somewhere? Do we have to go to
yeah,
the store?
well,
Like, can't you just go?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
yeah,
Like,
yeah,
they don't wanna go out with people, and we do because when they wanna do something, it's like everything shuts off, then you're like, "Oh, it's fine that I go in, a 200-person crowd," but when you wanna do it, no. But
yeah. My daughter's the same way when she's like, "Let's just not go out and let's just, like, watch Netflix and chill." I'm like, "Girl, say less."
anxiety, even dogs have it.
yeah.
Even dogs. Things I wish I knew.
So, how do you guys feel about early diagnosis? Like, now that we're going into the age of the biomarker and the possibility of, like, getting diagnosed earlier and earlier. I'm on Reddit a lot more now, and
So,
somebody came on that got, diagnosed at 19, just got diagnosed at 19, and they were like, "Can I still" they were asking, like, what should they pursue in college? Like, what are they going to be able to do and things like that? I was thinking, I think we're going to see more of that, with the
Mhm.
alpha-synuclein and stuff like that. And what would you tell that person or yourself if you had gotten your diagnosis at 19?
Just set goals, because, like, I've had symptoms of orthostatic hypotension since high school. Like, I was going to the doctor to have myself checked because I was constantly fainting and things like that. And the only thing they could tell me was stand up slower. But nobody ever told me orthostatic hypotension. I had TMJ. I had my left leg would bounce if I put tension on it. It would get tremors in my left leg and stuff like that, which I've always had. And this is all since, like, ninth, 10th, 11th grade, depending on the symptom. You just have to keep going and plan your life according to, like, your wishes, and don't let Parkinson's stop you, because it's different for everyone.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing to know when you're diagnosed with this, is that, one, you're not alone. You're not the only person out there that, and that, two, like, it's different for everyone. So don't think that my experience is going to be the same as yours. It's going to be the same as the guy next door or anyone down the road. When I was diagnosed, I thought that I was going to live for 14 years like my grandfather did, and then that was it. Like, I was gone. I'm out. But that's not the case. There's so much out there
Mhm.
that can help mitigate this disease and help you get through it, and you can still live a good life with Parkinson's.
Oh yeah.
It ain't going to be perfect, but it's still going to be good.
I think I would tell myself then to break things into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Yeah.
And not just in life, I mean, in anything that you do.
Yeah. It's good for dopamine.
Because it's, number one, you will find, excuse me, the amount of effort involved to do anything. I mean, brush your teeth or, whatever, run a 5K or anything takes so much more effort and to do. And like you said, what we were mentioning earlier about the anxiety, so that burns off energy. So you're already kind of running low before you get started, kind of thing.
Yeah. It's
And
good.
yeah, break things into smaller chunks
Yeah.
to make it more manageable, not just for you, but for everybody around you, kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's good advice.
You'll forget if you make a long list, or I do it. I'm like, I remember there were 5 things, but I remember one of them, and the rest are just lost in the ether somehow. Kind of
like, I'll start with number 1.
I think I would wish that somebody had given me more specific information about exercise.
Yeah.
And how important it would be, because now I know so many people that have successfully used exercise to sort of delay their start of medication. But I was talking to a friend with Parkinson's the other day, and she does something that I do a lot now too, with your point about breaking things into manageable pieces, because this is what my Parkinson's trainer told me as well. She'll say, I'm just going to do this for 10 minutes. I'm just going to get on the treadmill or walk the dog or lift weights or whatever the thing is for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And then you'll get started. And once you get started, that 10 minutes will become 20 minutes, will become 30 minutes. But there's something about momentum and motivation, right?
Yes.
And so that has helped me so much, because I had, especially since I had heard that statistic or research study or whatever saying, like, we need to do 30 minutes of high intensity, right? And 30 minutes it seems like so much longer than it really is.
Yeah.
But almost without exception, if I say, okay, I'm going to do 10 minutes, the 10 minutes becomes 30 much faster than if I just say I'm going to do 30. And I don't know what that's about, but it's a real thing.
It's just manageable.
Yeah, it's kind of like you're getting out of your brain's weight for you to allow it to do stuff. I think that one thing, like, figure out how to not really trick our brains, but to get out of the way and let it do what it's supposed to do.
Plus, once you accomplish that 10 minutes, your brain's like, oh, I checked the box. Let me give myself a reward. And you get that little dopamine reward, and then you're like, you know what? This feels so nice. I think I'm going to do it some more. And then you just keep going.
And I think it helps too with, focus and not overwhelming yourself.
Yes.
Because I'm that's one of my big things is I'll sit and try to figure out what I need to do or whatever, and then it's this huge task all of a sudden. Because I mean, Eric always laughed at me. He's like, Chris, you don't start at the top and build down. He's like, you got to build from the bottom up, and I'm like, yeah, but I was like, I see the goal, I see the end game, and I want that, but you can't. It's just insurmountable.
You put too many roadblocks up.
Yeah.
Eric gives good advice. Eric's advice is actually underused.
Well, that was probably the last really good advice my original movement disorder specialist gave me before he retired, which is like my prescription to you after we spent like 30 minutes talking about medication was that you don't think ahead too much.
That's good.
Yeah.
My original neurologist that diagnosed me was retiring. They called me 2 weeks before my appointment, which I waited 3 months for, to tell me that he was retiring in November, and then my appointment was scheduled for August, and I was like, okay, well, it's August. Like, can you help me now, or like, are you telling me I have to start over, or what? And like, this woman could tell like I was panicking. She's like, no, he's gonna help you. He's gonna help you out. She's like, just know that like you're gonna have to have a backup plan. And he told me like just exercise. He was like, I've been doing this for 35 years. He's like, I've been studying Parkinson's disease for 35 years. He's like, you need to exercise. He's
It's
like, moderate. He's like, not moderate amounts, but high intensity. He was like, don't, he's like, go right in. And he's like, hit it like, you know, like you mean it. He's like, and then keep doing it.
Yeah.
Which is really hard to do. Like when you're dealing with all this Parkinson's symptoms. I'm still building up momentum now. I went back to Beat Saber. That was my starting.
I need to. I never did. I haven't even purchased that.
You have to set it up. It is the most fun. I'm like, it's the creepiest thing to like watch because my kids will record me, just to say like, look how dumb my mom is. But there I am in the middle of the room, and I'm like, and you hear me just swearing up a storm because I miss him. And I'm like a little bit of a perfectionist, so like I'm like, oh, this is too easy. I'm gonna do the next one. And you do the next one, and it's so much faster. That and then I'm like, oh, I lost. And there I am in the middle of the room, this thing on my head, just talking to myself like a complete lunatic. But it's great. It's great for your brain. And I've gotten about 45 minutes past my med time each time that I work out. So what I've been doing is I wait, since I only have a 2-hour window, I get to that hour and a half and I start to feel tight, slap it on for half an hour, and like you could argue that, okay, but you lost a half an hour to get 45 minutes, so you really gained 15 minutes, but it's fun. So, I'm currently trying to complete what is it? Enter Sandman. And I can't get to the end of the song because it's an 8-minute song and it's really hard. So yeah, I'm a nerd.
Exercise. I think that's a good what we wish we knew.